Nioh is an immensely layered experience. Through its Dark Souls-inspired combat, you're taught the virtues of patience and the value of defense. With each death, there's the potential to learn a little bit more about yourself and your enemy. This Team Ninja production demonstrates the studio's penchant for demanding action-driven gameplay that rewards tactics and high dexterity. And despite all the inevitable dying, Nioh is surprisingly rich in solutions to overcome its many hurdles. Koei Tecmo's fondness for Japan's tumultuous Sengoku period is on full display in Nioh. The unusual foreign point of view of protagonist William Adams adds freshness to this familiar setting. His notoriety as the first Western samurai is the kernel that allows the gameplay to glorify him as a knowledgeable user of Japanese melee weaponry in Nioh. His path to combat proficiency is partly motivated by his pursuit of antagonist Edward Kelly. Both are in search of Amrita, a type of magical stone abundant in Japan that has the power to turn the tide in Queen Elizabeth I's favor in her war against Spain.
It's time for your execution.
The demands of melee combat in Nioh cannot be overstated. Assuming your character level isn't significantly higher than the recommended level of a given mission, some enemies can kill you with a single stroke. At times, enemies fight with unpredictability of a PvP match. You wish you can compliment these enemies for their tactical brilliance. That is until you throw your controller after dying at the hands of a boss for the 20th time. Nioh is at its most elegant when you're engaged in a one-on-one duel. Many enemies telegraph a lot of information even before they attempt their first strike. By studying their stances, you can deduce what attacks tend to result from those poses. Being able to read your enemy and emerge victorious, thanks to all this visual information, provides some of Nioh's most gratifying moments. At its most fundamental level, survival in Nioh is about managing stamina, which determines how frequently you can attack an enemy. The fact that enemies are equally limited by stamina creates tactical and exploitable opportunities. There's heightened suspense and a sense of realism when you and a foe are huffing and temporarily immobile from stamina-depleted exhaustion. Nioh empowers you through a wealth of resources and choices that only expands as you make progress. You acquire new weapons through a Diablo-inspired loot drop system, where myriad stats and special effects ensure that no two weapons are alike. 5 melee weapon types, a selection of firearms, and the opportunity to learn non-samurai abilities like magic can be a lot to take in. Yet thanks to Nioh's optional quests and the ability to replay completed missions, you can take time to find your footing before advancing to the next mainline chapter. Options for success further expand with the inclusion of cooperative play, which isn't co-op in the traditional sense. In order for a guest to be eligible for a host story mission, the guest needs to have already completed that mission. This, unfortunately, nerfs what could have been a stimulating session. The guest, armed with information on a map's layout and the boss's tactics, can help turn a chapter that would normally take 3 hours into a 15-minute jaunt. The immense variety in environments is reflected in the thoughtful pacing of what will be an 80-hour playthrough for many. There's a rhythmic ebb and flow as you advance through the story. For example, after an exhausting 2-chapter skirmish on a ravaged battlefield, you're greeted with a less demanding, yet still challenging trek through a lush and foggy forest with enemy ninja encampments. And much like Dark Souls games that inspired much of Nioh's level design, having a fastidious exploratory mindset helps reveal a location's many shortcuts, the discoveries of which are always satisfying. Although the specter of potential failure hangs heavy over any play session, dying in Nioh is never genuinely disheartening. This is thanks in part to the various avenues of character growth and the many approaches you can utilize to tackle a difficult section or boss fight. It shouldn't be surprising that the foresight and patience needed to survive a battle in Dark Souls would translate well to the fundamentals of samurai combat here. Nioh's most invigorating and intimidating moments occur when you feel you're at equal footing with your opponent. And it's during these encounters that one careless move can result in your demise, or the right string of thoughtful actions can make you feel invincible.